Hi, good morning. Today, we're going to work with a Meridian warm-up sequence that will work with the front body, the side body, and the back body. And these meridians are known as the stomach meridian or pathway in the front. And on the side body, it's the gallbladder, and the back body is the urinary bladder. So what's really unique about these pathways is that they really highlight the extensive musculature of the body. So these are the bigger, more typically tense muscles of the body: the stomach, the thighs, the fronts of the thighs, the hamstrings, the backs of the thighs, the glutes, and then all the muscles of the side body, where we typically hold a lot of tension. So we're going to address that. We're going to open up the hips and maybe even try our luck at doing a full split today, or you can just work on a half split. So I'll have some modifications. If you have 2 blocks, that'll be great. So let's get started. So the meridian activation sequence starts with slapping. Slapping really stimulates the surface points and gets to the deeper prana or chi. And it starts to really bring some lightness into the body, some pliancy into the muscles. So it's a great way to start. It's also a great kind of pick-me-up during the day, especially if you're hunched over a desk or you're typically spending a lot of time at your computer, at your keyboard, and of course your devices. So let's begin. Let's take a nice, deep, easy breath. Exhale out. Let's bring the hands and seat them at the heart for our invocation. All together, let's breathe in for Om. Om. Offering the merits of this practice for all of those in need. May we be of service to the healing of our planet and each other. So let's begin. You can bend the knees and we'll start with the tops of the feet and just slap fronts of ankles, the shin bone, and you can even hit the muscle on the outer shin. Very important points here. And then slightly on the top of the knees. More vigorous slapping on the tops of the thighs. And then we get to some really strong areas here: the hip flexors, the front of the hip flexors, the hip crease. Slap between the top bone of the shelf of the pelvis, the front shelf of the pelvis, or the spine, and the femur bone. Hip flexors grab a lot of tension. They're chronically activated typically during the day. And then go ahead and contract your abdominal muscles here, and we're going to use fists rather strongly here to wake up the Agni, the inner fire, digestive fire. On either side of the navel, all of the meridians are symmetrical. The meridians really work with yoga. They're both really systems that map the body, particularly the subtle body, the subtle components of the body, like prana or chi. Let's take the hands lightly, slap the fronts of the ribs and the tops of the chest, and take a nice deep breath here. So the breath really acts as a kind of a piston for the movement of prana, a subtle vital force through the body. And then lightly take your fingers up your throat, either side of the throat, into the jaw. up near the sinus cavities on either side of the nose, and then ends right underneath the eyes, right below the pupils on the lower eyelid. And let's go back down. You might already feel a shift here of your energy. It's like tingling movement. So it's a really nice way to start to warm up and open the body. Okay, so right behind the collarbones, this is a really great acupressure point, acupuncture point. It's known as, this area is known as the hip crease of the upper body. It really tends to pull and stagnate energy here. So let's release that, release the energy, and it's held in the shoulders and the throat. And then back down, top of chest, front of rib cage, contract the belly. The stomach channel corresponds to overthinking and worry, right? Consumption. We're all doing a lot of that lately with all of the uncertainty. And then tops of the, or fronts of the hip flexors rather, and then tops of thighs. Caps, shin bones, or shin bones to hit the muscle. Fronts of ankles, tops of feet. Let's go ahead, squeeze the second toe. Just take a breath in. And relax it out. Side body now, gallbladder. Slap the outer ankles, outer shins. The gallbladder grabs the tension from the muscles, so it protects the vital organs, but it gets really stuck and stagnated in a lot of these places in the body, especially the IT band and the outer hips, the stabilizer muscles here. You have the TFL more in the front, in between the bones of the thigh, the femur, the trochanter, and the spine, the front spine of the hips, of the pelvis. And then a little further back, you have the glute stabilizers, the glute med and the glute minimus. So you can go a little bit further forward between those two bones to get the TFL. It's a short, rather broad muscle. And then a little bit further back to get the glute muscles. And then let's go up, side of the waist, make fist. You're going to use your fist like a washboard on your side ribs and take a nice deep inhale and expand the ribs. And exhale. Try to keep the breath through the nose. You can really rub here and get into the intercostals. Those are the muscles that lie in between the bone of the ribs. And then you're going to use your right fist to the top of your left shoulder. And you can shake out your left arm as you do that. Working into the upper traps here. It's a typical area of tension. And then the opposite side. Probably want to stay there and do it a little longer because it feels so good. And then we'll take the fingertips and go up the sides of the neck, up to the ear, behind the ear. You can massage right above the ear at the scalp. So a lot of the tension creeps into the hips and the jaw. They both are hinge joints, and they really relate to each other. So you find if you do something to release the hips, the jaw might release, and then the reverse of that. And then just go around to the temporalis muscle, sides of the eyebrows, and then down to the outer corner of the eyes. You could just stop here and take a breath. And then we'll go back around. Just tapping lightly. Stay if you find a hollow or a divot where you feel the energy kind of come up against the pressure of your fingers. You can just stay there with that. A little bit of yang energy. And then around the ear, down the sides of the neck. Just bang out the tops of the shoulders. Take a deep breath. Rub your side ribs. Slap the outer waist. And then down, hip flexors, the hip stabilizers. Down the IT band. This is also an area where a lot of the excess tension in the muscles get stuck. Problems in the IT band can really affect the hips, the knees, particularly, even the low back. Pay a little attention to what you feel here. Corresponding overwhelming emotions that may come up with the side body, the gallbladder, and the liver, the yin component. Go down the outer shins, outer ankles. Let's go ahead and squeeze the fourth toe here. Take a breath in and out. Again, just receive whatever bubbles up, whatever is rising. Gallbladder and liver channels, which is the yin partner of the gallbladder. It's really all about rising energy. You're feeling heat and anger in the face and the head. This is all gallbladder and liver. So really learning how to work and disperse that energy and cool it off. Let's go ahead and go pounding to the back of the heels, the backs of the legs, backs of the calves. This is the urinary bladder. This is about shock and fear. Central nervous system, spinal cord, slightly behind the knees here because of the blood vessels. And then a little bit more strength behind the hamstrings. Large, big muscles here, and then up the glutes, and then go on either side of the tailbone. So you want to visualize a dog or a puppy that's fearful, and how that really features itself in the body. The tail will kind of curl under. So that's fear, that's shock and trauma. It sits in the body in this physical position. Going through the spine, the spinal cord, and then just go ahead and hit right directly on your sacrum. The sacrum is covered with a lot of connective tissue, so you can't really hurt it. It's a nerve plexus here. So let's go ahead and stimulate that. You might feel it go down the legs, up the spine. And then go lightly on either side of the spine. You don't want to hit directly into the vertebrae, but you do want to get the muscles that lay alongside the long muscles of the spine, spinal extensor muscles, and go all the way up as far as you can go, feeling the deeper kidney element here. the partner, the in partner to the bladder. And then go ahead to get the upper back alongside the spine. This will slap behind. And then lightly with your fingertips to go up the back of the neck. I just pause here right at the base of the skull, the brain stem, which is the most primitive part of the brain. Responsible for all the basic elements like breathing, digesting, sleeping. This is a great point here that you might want to revisit, and then go up the back of the skull. You can close your eyes and you can maybe see colors or sparks, see how things shift and change as you kind of stimulate the brain. And then go on the inside of the eyebrows. You can stop there for a moment, and then ends right here at the inner corners of the eyes. You can just press here. Okay, and this is where it starts, and let's go back. Reversing back, inner eyebrows, the frontal brain, top of the brain, back brain, the visual cortex, back to the celestial pillar right at the base of the skull, down the back of the neck. Go ahead and slap the upper sides of the spine, and then work your fist up the back as far as you can go. And down with the quadratus lumborum, QL muscle in the lower back. Also gets to be very, very tight for most of us as we're going through these uncertain times. And then go ahead and hit directly on your sacrum bone. Go beside the tailbone. Waking it up, and let's go down. Pelvic floor also gets stimulated with the tailbone, backs of hamstrings, lightly back of the knees, and then down the calf. Backs of heels, sides of, outer sides of your feet. There's a lot of points here. And then let's work into the very end of the bladder meridian, squeezing the pinky toe, and take a breath. Breathing in and out. Letting go in a forward fold here. And then doing the opposite of the fear and shock response with the tailbone. So starting to lift the tailbone high. You can bring your hands forward, or you can have them on blocks, and lift the heels up, come onto the toes. Press the toes down into the floor, keep the heels lifted, seal the lower rib cage onto the upper thighs as you lower your seat down, maybe tapping the heel bones. Maybe the sit bones can really connect with the heel bones. And then we'll reverse it back. Stay on your toes, keep the heels lifted the whole time, keep the seal of the ribs towards the thighs. And then slowly, keeping the tailbone nice and high now, widening through the sit bones, slowly lower the heels down. And let's do that 2 more times. Lowering down, keeping high on the heels, keeping the seal, upper body against lower body. Raising the tailbone up, keeping the tailbone lifted, even as you start to slowly lower the heels towards the floor. And your knees could be bent the whole time here. It just depends on flexibility or how things are smoothing out for you this morning, or whatever time it may be. And then back up. Keep raising the tailbone and slowly lower the heels down, opening up the whole back line of the body. Feeling that bladder meridian, feeling the stretch even from the tailbone all the way through the base of the skull. Imagine that you're stretching your spinal cord within the spine. See if that creates any shift for you. Let's come back to the breath. Maybe you're already in your ujjayi breath, allowing the ujjayi to smooth out the pace of your practice. Providing a beautiful rhythm, an anchor for your mind. And keeping a smooth, even engagement of your abdominals, which will really support and stabilize the spine throughout. All right, so let's slowly bend the knees now. Now we want to tuck the tailbone under and roll up through the spine, keeping the head and the arms really nice and heavy. And then close your eyes and just feel what you feel. I want you to think about always coming back to the breath, being more interested in the breath than whatever you're doing with a pose or with movement. Always let the breath call you back. It's very settling for the mind. All right, so let's start the front of your mat. And you'll have your blocks handy if you need them. Let's take an inhale and raise up the chest away from the thighs. You want to contract the thighs, lift the kneecaps here. And then exhale, take a deeper forward fold. And again, you can have your knees bent here. Look forward as you take a big step back with your right foot. And really find the support of the back leg. So really energize that leg, really activate into the toes, extend back through the heels. So feel the nice long lines that you're creating here. Come back to the smoothness of the breath. And then go ahead and tap down as you exhale. Lift up, inhale. Press out through the heel, exhale. Press the chest forward as you tap down. Inhale, reach the chest as much forward as you're pushing back through the heel. And go ahead and tap down. This time we're going to come up. We're going to turn out to the side. Inhale a nice flat back here with your feet nice and wide. And exhale, take your fold. And then bend the knees slightly, bring the hands to the tops of the thighs. And we're just going to go kind of smoothing out the hips here. So really addressing the mobility and the smoothness of the hips. It's a beautiful day. Just drink it in. Bring the sense of ease into your body, especially into your hips. We're working right now, and then we'll go to the back of the mat, bending the right knee, flexing the left foot. You can stay high here. Or you can invite yourself to go lower inside Skandasana if you're ready for that. Trying to keep the right heel down. Of course, it's okay if it comes up. But just notice that. And let's go ahead back, walk it out. Tap the back knee down. Let's take our half Hanuman here. I like to call Jackknife Pose. You really want to sense that you're keeping your upper spine nice and long. Walk your hands out if you have a little bit more flexibility in your hamstrings here. Let that left outer hip really pull back and down. And then lower the foot. You can untuck the back toes here and we'll come up, push against the forward thigh to raise up the spine. Or active lunge here. You can even press into the top of the back foot and lift the knee up. It's really going to strengthen the psoas Psoas and the diaphragm are the two muscles that grab onto stress right away. So it shows up in your breathing and it shows up in the hips. Good. Stay here for another 2 breaths or so and take any arms that really kind of invite you a little bit deeper into the pose. Always being aware of how active your low belly is to support the curve of the low back. Not cranking into the low back, but lifting up and out of the hips. Now let's come forward. We'll just take a simple twist here. Keeping a little bit of height underneath the right hip. Good, and then just softly tap down the back knee. You can go ahead and bend the back leg. And don't even reach for the foot yet, but just let the hamstring do the work of bringing the heel in towards the glute. And then you can go ahead and add the hold here. Come down on your forearm if you'd like, and press the right thigh down as you twist. You can come forward if you'd like, if you'd rather do, or if you'd rather not do the twist. Good. And then we're going to come into lizard pose here, working the left foot over. And we'll glide forward and back and side to side. Lizard is a really great pose for working the internal structures of the hip. And then, of course, meeting the groin. You can come down on your forearms if you like. And then straighten your arms for pyramid pose here. You can hop the back foot in and you can flex the front foot. You can lower the front foot. Work both of the big toe mounds into the floor, and that's really going to help to even out the hips a little bit more. Let's press back into plank pose. Waking up the shoulders, really push from the shoulders here, really active. Active through the whole stomach meridian that we were working. All the front muscles are supporting so that the back muscles can lengthen. Take little light movements forward and back, side to side here, really testing it out. Use your fingertips and then come forward. Lower the knees down. Keep coming forward so you'll stay long as you lower. And come into Cobra. Use the glutes, squeeze the glutes. Press the tops of the feet down. Use the grip of the fingertips to pull back or scrape back so the heart, the center of the chest, can drag forward and lift up. Use the arms, but try not to overload the shoulders. And lower down. Press into child's. Use the strength of the arms to really hinge the hips back here. And then press forward a little bit into your palms and then set the seat back, but keep the knees deeply bent. Maybe try to find that seal again, ribs to the thighs. Keep the heels lifted. Keep widening the sit bones and lifting the tailbone, just like what we did in a few moments ago with standing forward bend. And then slowly start to lift and straighten the legs and slowly lowering the heels down, opening up the whole back of the legs, the calf, the Achilles. You'll feel the whole bladder meridian Stretch and open the spinal cord all the way through, even maybe into the inner corners of your eyes. Let's go head up, bend, push strongly with the arms, squat down. It's like a floating child pose. And then keep the hips open, sit bones spread wide, and slowly lower down. Go ahead and walk to the front of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, take a deeper fold. Let go of the head and neck here. I'm just going to turn around to do the opposite side. So from our forward fold, we're going to take a big step back with that left foot. Inhale. Again, create those long lines of the pose. And then exhale, stay long as you tap the back knee down. And go ahead and lift up. 2 more times like this. This time we're going to come up, turn out. Legs wide apart, feet wide apart. Toes facing the same direction. And exhale and fold. And again, wide the sit bones apart. You're almost pulling your inner thighs apart. Aim the tailbone up towards your ceiling. Head directly down. Feel the length of your spinal cord. Good. Let's come up. And then we'll go to the back of the mat for our side Skandasana. When you're ready, take a little time here to smooth it out, and then go ahead and land in your side squat. Remember, it can be a lot higher. Let's go back to the front, tapping down the back knee for our Ardha Hanuman. Staying open and lifted through the chest. Frontal spine is long, not shortened. See the difference, feel the difference. Bring your interest back to the breath. That steady focal point. Good, let's come forward. Point the back toes. Anjaneyasana here. Keeping length in the front body. Using the legs and the feet here for stability, active low belly, so that we're not cranking in the low back and that lumbar spine. Breathing evenly up. We use the deeper support of the organs in our back bends. You almost want to feel like the whole digestive tube is lifting into that back bend. And let the movement ride on the breath. Let the hips melt forward and down, and then add any arms. Always remembering that the back bend lifts up out of the hips. There's an upward force. It's more than a bending back force. And you'll find so much more ease and space and length in the back bend, and much less of the cranking and the parking in the low back if you work with those cues. Okay, let's come forward. Take your twist, easy twist here, and keep that left hip a little high. And then tap the back knee down. Go ahead and squeeze the heel towards the buttock. Isolate through the hamstring and the glute. And then you can go ahead and use your hand And work the leg a little closer in. Come on your forearms if that feels good. And then release the leg. Don't let it catapult away from you. And then we'll come into our lizard pose. You can stay on your forearms for lizard too. Just any oscillations here that feel good. And finding any limitations, remembering that we're not always symmetrical. You may feel completely different side to side here. So just honoring that. And then keeping or coming up on off your forearms for pyramid pose here. Working into the big toes, or you can flex the front foot. Good. Let's push back to down dog here, working into plank, and we'll stay with plank, and you can always have a knee down plank here for those of you who are just building up your strength. Just remembering that you want to keep the long lines and you want to stay active in the front body, but you want that nice firm brace of your abdominals and your deeper core working at all times. Okay. Everyone else, if we want a little bit of a challenge, we can do my wonky plank here, what I like to call wonky plank. Start to walk the right fingertips forward. Really engage and fortify your right leg and quad, and then go ahead, point out your left toes, and maybe the left toes lift, maybe the right fingertips lift, and reach in opposite directions here, really long. Stabilize and try to use a smile here to bring some lightness into this pose. Let's lower down the knees and press back. Let's do the other side. All right. So we're gonna walk the left fingertips out, right toes out. Let's see if we can engage the left leg now. Really recruit that left leg. You need it in this one. Reach long in both directions and come on down. Knees wide apart in child's. Push back. And you can start to come into puppy pose here, or just start to bring the chest further to the ground, opening up the armpits. It's one of my favorite back bends. And then to come forward into more of a puppy pose, the hips come more over the knees. And you walk the chest forward, walk the chin forward, and maybe stretch the arms out. Raising that tailbone up, the opposite of the fear phenomenon. Working the pelvic floor helps to lift and engage the tailbone. Let's go ahead and come all the way back to child's pose now. Okay, so we're going to work the same sequence, and we're going to use a block. Okay, so the block is just going to add height, as you'll see, and if it's too challenging for any of you, if your flexibility just isn't quite there yet, or it's not there today, whatever the case may be, then just avoid the block and then just do the whole sequence just as you did it previously. Okay, so I'm just going to add the block. And we're going to start the left foot on the block. Hands down. You may need an extra set of blocks here. It might be a little bit more favorable to have your hands on a height as well. But this is really for, it's kind of optimizing the positions that we just did. Okay, so let's just one time inhale here. Create those nice long lines. Exhale, tap down. Right away, we're going to go into side Skandasana here. So inhale to lift up. Have your heel right on the center of that block. So don't let it escape from you, and then come down into your side Skandasana. You feel it right away here. Be more interested in your breath. And let's come forward. And Jackknife Pose. Bring those hips back as you keep the spine lengthened. Walk the arms further forward. Let's go nice and easy here. And let's take an Anjaneyasana now. Flattening the foot on the block and then pointing the toes back. This might be just a lot for you. You don't have to do anything with your arms. Just take a moment, just let the hips melt, the body understand. Let the body map itself. Let the nervous system catch up. And then add any arms here. Remembering that you don't have to, and remembering that the back bend is all about lifting and not so much bending back. Let's go ahead into our twist. Twists really are so great at relieving so much tension that collects in the vertebrae in the spine. And also really relieving a lot of the tension and stress that builds up in the digestive tract. All right, so let's, you can stay in your twist here, and also you can go on to your forearms and then just squeeze into that right glute. And take your twist. Open the left shoulder. And recruit the right shoulder. Really hug it against the right side of your chest. Holding steady as you let go. Good. And we'll work on lizard. So you can keep the arms straight, or you can decide to come down on your forearms. You might want to move the block a little bit further over to the side. And here it's kind of fun to play with a little bit of maybe an arm balance if you want to go ahead and be brave to do your Kundalini asana or whatever arm balance that's kind of speaking to you right now. It's just a really nice position if you are using the block to get the shoulder to easily come behind the left calf. And then if you did that, maybe you can push against that left calf, open up the arms like airplane here. And you can do airplane with the back knee lifted as well. Just really push against the left leg. Stay open and bring that smile back in. Hook into the breath here. Maybe take a bind. Keep the right leg really stable. Tap the knee down. Maybe you can go into Jackknife Pose if you have your bind here. Let's go into pyramid, the last pose of the sequence, except we're going to add our full splits here if you're ready. Okay, and adding a full split. You can use blocks to actually create an oversplit, or you just keep the foot flat on the block and just work the right knee back little by little. Stop wherever you need to. Oh, I just saw a beautiful little yellow bird. It was so pretty. Work onto blocks through your fingertips to keep your spine upright, so the pose is a little more active. Push through the back heel, just like we were doing in the very beginning pose, the very beginning of our lunge. Great. Go ahead and sit in your seat at the back of the mat. Just take a breath here. Just feel what's shifting, what's coming up, what's dissolving, moving away, what's transforming. Just feel yourself as just this shape of energy, intermingling with all of the energy that is in our environment, outside, inside. Using all of it. All right, I'm going to work from the opposite side of the mat, just for visual purposes. You can stay where you are. And we're going to work the right foot now on the block. For those of you who are working the block. Okay. Fingers down, lift up the back leg, lengthen out here. Push with that back heel, extend through the chest and tap down. Right away, side Skandasana. Anchoring that heel into the block, lowering down, pushing the heel downward to open up inward, inside of the thigh. Let's go back and around, shifting into our jackknife pose. Walking the fingertips further forward, but not compromising the spine in any way. Then lower the foot, point the back toes, and come up on Asana. Breathing in. Feeling the intestines even lift. Seeing how we can release in the hips. Guide ourselves back to the breath. Keep shifting back and forth. Use any arms that you like here. You don't have to use arms. Open it up to your breath. Stabilize and support as you exhale. Let's work into our simple twist. Bring a little ease, space into the spine, and bring it out. And then lower the back knee down. You could stay in your twist the whole time. Work the hamstring, work the glute. Come onto your forearm if you like. Pushing the left side down. And then slowly release with control. Lizard pose here. Okay, and then working the shoulder. You want to try the airplane on this side. And again, not to worry if this side is not going to do the same as the other side. Actually, maybe the side will be a better side for you. It's all good information to have. Push against the leg mightily with your right shoulder. Look forward, let the gaze lengthen. Back leg is very stable. Maybe you take a bind and add that smile. Knee comes down. And maybe you can take a jackknife here. I gotta smoosh my ankle a little forward. Yeah, let's come up into our pyramid. And we're ready for our splits on this side. Okay, so keeping either the foot down and just take the knee back, or you can work the flexion in the front foot and go back if you have a splits practice. Walking the hands back, keeping the spine really lifted. Pushing out through the heel. Yay. And we did it. Let's just bring the big toes together and widen the knees apart. Stay here. You can use your fist. Just kind of pummel the inner thighs. You can come forward and then work the ankles back in line with the knees. So you create nice right angles here. Let's just take about 5 breaths in your frog pose. And I hope this helped to bring some ease and lightness into your hips today. Maybe a little closer to a full split if you don't already have that in your practice, but to see the potential of that, just to feel and to cultivate that ease and lightness through the hips, through the legs. Working with the meridians today, such a great way to open the body and just to start to feel and sense the deeper energy channels that both the meridian practice and yoga address. So let's bring the palms together, signifying the balance of yin yang, dark, light, right and left sides of the body come together as whole. All the fragmentation, all the separation. Find wholeness. Find the oneness. Find the unity. Let's take a deep breath in together. Om. I thank you, and please come and join me again.